What's going on, fellas? So today, we're going to have a great discussion because we're going to talk about why divine men always win in the end. Now, this topic is a very special topic for me. And the reason why is because it hits very close to home, G. Everything that I talk about on my channel is from self-experience. Nothing is regurgitated. I don't read many books. All right, fellas? So everything that you hear, I've been through. Everything that you've been through, I've probably been through. I always say this, as men, we live the same semi-similar life. So if you're a man watching this, and you're in a place in your life where you feel stuck, or you feel behind, or you feel lonely, or you feel like you've messed up, fellas, I guarantee you, if you stay focused, and if you understand that 9 times out of 10, if you're going through a lot of shit and it doesn't make sense, but there's this voice in the back of your head that's telling you that you know you're meant for greatness. And you know you're going to win. And if you just stay focused, you're going to laugh in the end. All right, fellas? That shit rhyme. I didn't even know I was going to do that. But G, pay attention. Divine men always win in the end. What I'm trying to say, G, is everything I'm about to tell you today is about trust. All right, fellas? It's trust in God's timing. You probably don't know where you're going to be in the next 20 years. Maybe you do. 9 times out of 10 you don't, because that's a long time from now. But I guarantee you, you'll have a better chance at trusting divine timing. All right? Trusting that everything is going to work out if you stay in alignment. So this is going to be one of the ones that you really need to take notes and pay attention. All right, fellas? Because this message that I'm going to give to you today is something that you're going to need to take with you throughout this journey. Throughout this journey of being successful. Throughout this journey of having a great, abundant life. All right, fellas? Let's get right into it. So, first thing you need to understand, fellas, is most setbacks, sometimes when you go rock bottom, sometimes when you lose everything that you thought you needed in order to survive, sometimes when you go homeless, and in my case, 3 times, sometimes when you go through a heartbreak, sometimes when you go through a betrayal and you lose everybody you thought that was going to be with you to the end. In most cases, if you're chosen, when that traumatic moment happened, you need to understand that 9 times out of 10, you've been marked. We all like to use this word chosen. Everybody want to be chosen, right? Gee, that shit sounds good. But you got to understand that when you chosen, you've been marked. Meaning you got a target on your back. All right, fellas? And what's trying to hunt you down? Problems, bullshit, everything you don't want. All right, fellas? And when you're marked for greatness, it ain't pretty. It's pretty ugly. That's what it is, all right, fellas? It gets fucking real. See, a lot of men think growth and ascension and becoming the best version of yourself, that shit all rainbows and sunshine. You think your ass gonna have this type of minimalist aesthetic lifestyle with your iPad and your phone and your Apple Watch? Gee, that shit ain't fun. It ain't none of that. Gee, that's Instagram, all right, fellas? This shit will have your ass crying in the damn mirror, wondering who the fuck you are. Questioning a lot of shit. This shit hits your ego. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Because that's what a lot of you guys dealing with right now. And that's what's holding you back. And that's what's stopping you from trusting divine timing. But pay attention. You're getting impatient too. But pay attention. You've been marked. Every great man that has done some great shit has been marked. Bruce Wayne got marked when his parents died. All right, fellas? Noah got marked when God told him he had to build an ark and leave all his brothers behind. Gee, Moses got marked. Moses got marked a bunch of times. Moses killed the man and had to run away for 40 years. Then he had a bush talking to him in the middle of a desert in broad daylight. Moses got marked all over. Fellas, Job was marked. All right, fellas, there was a whole conversation happening between God and the devil. Fellas, I'm giving you simple Christian stories to help you understand that every great man has been marked. I just mentioned 2 minutes ago that I was homeless 3 times. All right, fellas, and I guarantee you the 3rd time is not a charm. The shit ain't pretty. When you get marked, you will go through shit. So what you got to understand that at times, when you're divine and you're chosen, God isolates what he wants to elevate. You cannot ask for elevation without isolation. Now, does this mean you're going to necessarily be alone from people? Gee, everybody got their own battles. but it's like a detox, okay, fellas? Some of you guys have been marked because you've been distracted with people. Some of you guys have been marked because you've been distracted with money. Some of you guys have been marked because you've been distracted with lust or anger or fear or anything of that, or ego. All right, fellas, but you've been marked. What is the mark? It's a target. Boom, right on the back of your head. What does that target say? That target says you're different. That target says you're special. That target says you can't move like other men. All right, fellas? And this is what happens when most men get marked. They feel that boom, they feel that target hit their back. All right, fellas, they get that betrayal, they get their heart broken, they lose their job, a bunch of dumb shit just start happening, a bunch of chaos, and they panic. All right, fellas, because they know it's a target on their back. And what they do everything to blend back in. Not understanding, fellas, let's talk about, I'm going to use this word, okay, fellas? We talk about movement. And if you understand how the universe works, you understand that everything moves, even when it's sitting still. This is the law of vibration. So because everything moves, and you're included in everything, you move too. Now, the way you move is important. This is going to determine your vibration, which is also going to determine your frequency, which is your energy, which is also going to determine how the world responds to you and how you respond to the world. But let's back up to movement. Fellas, rule of thumb, as a divine man, if you made it this far, you cannot move how everybody else moves. You cannot go to the same places everybody else goes to. For all you guys who are wondering where good women exist, fellas, they not at 99% of the places that you still go to. All right? Why? Because you see ratchet women there as well. And I don't think divine women hang out with ratchet women, even though they're all critters. All right, fellas, my point that I'm trying to explain to you is you cannot move like every other man. You're going to move, all right, because God wants you to move. That's why he isolates you, because he wants you to move on his timing. He wants you to move, not in a straight line, G. Why? I told you, the road is bumpy. G, it ain't fun. You're going to mess up. You're going to relapse. You're going to fuck up. That's why I don't recommend you guys counting the days of your semen retention. Why? Because that's growth. And growth is painful. And it's not in a straight line. All right, fellas? For some of you guys, you're lucky enough to stay disciplined and to never relapse. But for 97% of men who've been through trauma, and actually the reason why your ass got marked is because that shit is going to be tough. So don't beat yourself down. You got to forgive yourself. You got to trust yourself. Trust yourself enough to know that you're not missing out on shit. All right, this is the point of the video, fellas. All right, this is the point, because you think you're not winning, right? And you're probably not winning right now on paper. All right, fellas, but that's just paper. That shit don't mean nothing. All right, fellas, understand movement. I'm gonna say it again for the guys in the back, in case you didn't hear me. You can't move like every other man. All right, you can't talk like G. You can't date the same women, fellas. Listen, you guys, I don't know why y'all level up and want to date the same women. Then you get mad when these women don't respond to you the same way. You know why they don't respond to you the same way? Because you different. You're marked. And they can smell it, all right? A woman can smell when a man is focused, all right? Don't you know that there's some women who will literally avoid you because you look like you got standards? And you mad talking about you don't attract the same women you used to attract, or as many women as you used to attract. Maybe it's because you're still in the same environments that you used to be in, and now you marked and now you different, and you ain't even supposed to be there. So how about this? Instead of complaining that handsome men don't get chosen or handsome men are lonely, how about you move to where handsome men ain't got to go through a bunch of bullshit just to get some ass that's been ran through? Fellas, I'm teaching you something. Pay attention, all right? You can't you can't go to the same place as everybody. I know that's why all your homeboys hang out. All right? And I know they know you there. And I know once you start going to them high-level places, your ass gonna feel weird. And I know it feel weird wearing a suit. And I know it feel weird actually wearing clothes that fit you, that ain't got a bunch of glitter on them. But G, you've been marked. So you gotta move different, all right? I'm making this easy. Divine men always win in the end. Maybe not at the beginning. So humble beginnings exist. All right, fellas? But you know what those humble beginnings are? You've been marked. All right, fellas? You've been marked. Your territory now. You no longer own your body at this point. Gee, you got to understand this, all right, fellas? All of us are programmed to an extent. And all of us can choose what type of programming we adhere to. Gee, I'm giving you the game, all right, fellas? I should be charging you for this, literally. All of us are programmed. Gee, I'm programmed. It seems like I'm a rebel, and it seems like I move on my own motion. But I'm still programmed by something. Yeah, I'm programmed by the Most High, but I'm programmed. So, fellas, if you're going to be programmed, it would do you better to change your programming and move in the right direction. So, I'm going to go back because I got a third point, and I got some more after that. You've been marked. So, since you've been marked, you need to move in the right direction. You need to move where you know you want to go. You need to make tough decisions. I'm not even talking about taking risk because I'm not talking about doing more. This is about doing less. All right, fellas, I say this all the time. Some of you guys have quoted me on this. It's not about doing more. Sometimes it's about doing less. At most times, it's about doing less. Guys always want to know, what do I need to do to become successful? Fellas, you know what's a better question? It's about what do you don't do to become successful. All right, fellas? Fellas, you already have a great life. All right? You just filling in the gaps with dumb shit. I guarantee you, fellas, if you just stop doing most of the things you do, life will be great. If you just stop spending money, and if you just stop being a dumbass, if you just stop saying dumb shit, and if you just stop being a bitch, and if you just stop letting your ego in front of you, gee, you're going to vibrate at a higher frequency. You see that? It's easy because once you clear the noise, once you detox the bullshit, the impurities, the toxins, you can breathe now. You realize life ain't that hard. You realize shit ain't supposed to be taken that serious. You realize life is pretty easy. So if life is hard, gee, you're going to go through hard shit. Why? Because you're marked. But if life is hard and you ain't really doing a lot of shit, meaning you ain't trying to gee, I understand if you stressed out because you're trying to do big shit. But if you stressed out and you ain't even making a lot of money and you don't even get bitches and you're not even in shape, gee, you are the problem. All right, fellas? It's because you're moving in the wrong direction. You at a low vibration. That's why you're attracting dumb shit. So this is your opportunity. Gee, you got to understand this. A lot of men don't even get the chance to be marked. A lot of men die as a loser. A lot of men get to the age of 60 years old and realize they've been spending the last 6 decades as a loser. If you're 21 years old and you've been marked, stop bitching and stop trying to go back to the old you. That shit don't make sense. All right, it's like somebody giving you a lottery ticket that's telling you gon' win if you just hold on to it and you say, nah, I'm good. That's what you do. All right, fellas? So you've been marked. Gee, you wouldn't know who Bruce Wayne was if his parents died and he would have stayed a bitch. And then when Alfred came over to him, he said, hey, little Bruce, the toughest battles is usually given to the toughest soldiers. And then Bruce looked up at him and said, but I can't believe. Gee, you wouldn't know who Batman was. All right, fellas? So you got to understand this. The lust, the fear, the anger, the ego, all of those things will try to tempt you. They will try to bring you back. And they will come in different forms. See, this is the thing. You think since you've been marked, you've only been marked for greatness. You've also been marked for attack. Because that target is bright red and everybody can see it. All right, fellas? You're like Neo on the run. Pay attention, all right? Everybody can see this. The NPCs, the agents, the bitch in the red dress. Everybody knows you're marked. Everybody knows you're chosen. Everybody knows you're the one. Why? Because you got a target. You're wanted. So you got to pay attention to how you move. You see that? Just think about if you were wanted for a crime. I don't know what you did, G. Be creative. Use your imagination. And you were wanted. Gee, you would watch how you think you would just be showing up at the corner store being all lollygaggy with the goddamn clerk? No, you would not. You probably stay in the house. And that's what some of you guys need to do. Stay in the You don't need to be outside, G. You know what you need to be doing? You need to be inside of you, G. Working on yourself. Focusing on you. Battling with yourself inside. You want to go out and be a superhero, G. You ain't got a cape yet. You need to be inside training. Training your mind. Training your body. Training your emotions. Training your intentions. Make sure you're moving with the right intentions. All right, fellas? Now, I want to talk about something, okay? Something that a lot of men have a problem with. This one is very important. All right, guys. Burnout. All right, here a lot of men talk about burnout. You know, you get to a space in your life or a stage in your life where you just tired, right? Exhausted, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. All right, fellas. But I want to talk about burnout in a different way. And I want to show you the advantage of being divine, and the advantage of being chosen, and the advantage of not pussying out when you get marked, and the advantage of vibrating at a high frequency. When you do this, I want to give you an example. For all you guys who were losers in high school, right? You were the nerd. You were the weird kid. You were the dude nobody really hung out with, right? Let's say, don't be ashamed about it, G, because there is a day to this night, all right? Remember I said divine men win in the what? In the end. All right, guys? It's a horse race. So, burnout. If you think about that guy, the prom king, the best dude on the football team, maybe you were jealous of him. I don't know, G. I don't know your situation. Whoever, the dude that took your girl in high school, G. All right? You will realize that when you see a lot of these men later on in life, they usually burn out. All right, fellas? You get what I'm saying? This is the whole point of the video, guys. All right? You're going to get the last laugh if you stay focused. All right, fellas? And I use the prom king example because a lot of you guys weren't picked as prom kings. And you got salty. You was mad. You punched the fucking air. It's okay, G. I get it. But guess what? You'll get the last laugh if you stay focused. For any of you guys know the story, the tortoise and the fucking hare. The reason why the tortoise, the turtle, the reason why he fucking won. For all you guys who don't know what a tortoise is, it's a turtle. The reason why he beat the hare is a bunny rabbit. For all you guys who don't know what a hare is, not the hair on your head, G, a bunny. It was a bunny rabbit and a turtle, and they had a race. A lot of you young guys don't even know this goddamn story, so I'm going to tell it to you. There was a bunny rabbit. He probably was a jackrabbit. A jackrabbit is a faster rabbit. And a turtle. Now, we all know turtles are slow. They're very methodical with their movement. All right, fellas? But the difference between the turtle and the jackrabbit was the jackrabbit had an ego. He thought because he was fast that he would win the race. Because this shit is a what? I told you it's a horse race, okay? But we're not racing horses. We're talking about a turtle and a bunny, all right? Now, when they shot the gun and the race took off, the jackrabbit, the hare, he took off, all right? And the turtle, he slow-paced it, all right? He wasn't in a hurry. And the reason why he wasn't in a hurry because he trusted God's timing. He knew that the hare, the bunny rabbit, had an ego. And he was cocky. And he thought that he could just talk to girls on the sideline. He could kind of like slow pace it, you know. He looking back. He showboating, G, doing the Deion Sanders. And the turtle just walking along. All right. And I don't know how the story went, G. There's different versions. There's different versions where the damn bunny rabbit died. There's different versions where the bunny rabbit got caught up in the jungle somewhere because he was playing around getting distracted. However you saw the story or however you want to make it up with your imagination. More of the story is the damn tortoise won. The turtle, he won. Why did he win? Because he trusted divine timing and he knew that shit is just noise. And most men that start off fast usually don't end fast. Most men that start off fast without structure usually burn out. All right, fellas? So I'm not telling you that you should move slow. What I'm telling you is that you should just trust God's timing. I'm not telling you that every time you see a man next to you that he gonna play around like the bunny rabbit did. He might not, because he might be on his shit like me. But what I'm saying is, trust God's timing. This is your race, G. All right? Let me tell you something, G. Y'all know I always talk about being present, all right, fellas, and being in the moment and understanding that the present moment is the only thing that matters. Yes, you got your memory, which does matter because this is going to keep you alive, but some of you guys use your memory in the wrong way. I spoke about imagination earlier. Yes, you got your imagination, which is the future, which is anticipation, which is foresight, which is strategy. Yes, you need this. But if you letting that overlap what's right in front of you, Gee, I say this all the time. Most of you guys have a great fucking life. But because you're worried about the past and the future, you don't even know what's in front of you. You can't even show gratitude. That's why your vibration is low. All right? And that's why you feel burnt out. But you're not burnt out because ain't nothing wrong with you. And I say this all the time too. You're not broken. You're probably just misaligned. That's why you got marked, because you're moving wrong. All right, fellas? And now we at the part where you trying to figure out where you fit in life. Now you trying to figure out if you behind. Fellas, You always get the last laugh if you stay focused. All right, fellas, divine men always win in the end. This video is not motivation. I am giving you clear strategy as to why you listen to me. The reason why you listen to me is because when I talk, there's conviction. So there's this little voice in the back of your head that's saying, he been through that shit before. Listen to that voice because it's real. All right, fellas? You will get marked when you're chosen. You're chosen, G. You're plucked out of the fucking crowd. You will have to move differently. So if you think you get to still hang out with Dante, no, G. Not even on nights and weekends. All right, fellas? And understand this. What you think is success. All this shit you see on social media, it's all fake. All right, fellas? 99% of what you see on social media is either AI or bullshit. All right? Most people ain't living the lives you see. So what you need to do is stop watching that shit and start watching you. All right? Look in the mirror. So something I talked about on my last video, and I'm going to put it in the description, all right, fellas, is I talked about capacity. And the actual point of that last video was you don't need confidence, because confidence is only a result of a man with wide capacity. And what is capacity? Capacity is, if you get on an elevator, all right, fellas, and there's always a little note, a little sign, a little emblem on the elevator that says max capacity. And it always has a certain number, maybe 1,100 pounds, 1,300 pounds, depending on the size of the elevator. And what that sign, that little emblem is basically trying to tell you is, not everybody can fit on this elevator. Why? Because there's a certain capacity, a certain weight load, meaning that the amount of people that get on that elevator, if they exceed 1,100 pounds or 1,300 pounds or what's ever written on that elevator, something bad is going to happen. What I'm basically saying is that elevator can hold the weight over what's listed on the wall. All right? So, capacity. The reason why you see some men who look confident, it's not confidence, it's capacity. They've been there. All right, fellas, they've been there before. That's why they look so confident when they do it. Either they've been there before or they've trained their mind so diligently to imagine themselves there a million times to where once they get there, it's a piece of cake. Why? Because they've been there up here, and as within, so without, and as a man thinketh, so is he. All right, fellas? So, capacity. Why are you going through what you're going through? So God, the universe, the Most High, source, whatever the hell you believe in, can widen your capacity. There are certain things that you want in your future. See, this is what happens. You wake up in the morning, you have a dream, right? And then you wake up in the morning and you want it. Then you get marked. And then God says, in order for you to have that dream that you had a dream about, you're going to have to widen your capacity. Because if I give it to you right now, you won't be able to handle it. You will fumble it. That's why you don't have the woman you want yet, the car you want yet, the money you want yet, the popularity you want yet. You will fumble it all. Why? Because you're a weak-ass bitch right now. All right? And I don't want you to be a weak-ass bitch. I want you to be able to hold it. All right? So if you had a son and you want to buy him a car, but he's 8 years old, you wouldn't give him the car right now. What would you do? You go buy him some Hot Wheels. Then you go buy him a little remote control car. Then you buy him a little electronic car he can drive around the goddamn house in the backyard in. Then you'll teach him how to drive your car, but you'll still be in the car. Right? Scared as shit with the seatbelt on. All right, fellas? There's steps to this shit. There's steps to this shit. And he gonna mess up a bunch of times within those steps. But there's steps to this shit. There's steps to everything. Fellas, understand something. When you watch a kid walk, a baby, like an infant, and they walk and they try to walk. Before they can walk, they walk and then they fall. They walk, then they fall. They walk and then they fall. Why? Because their legs fucking weak, G. It's like goddamn rubber bands. They can't stand up straight. The reason for this, if they came out the womb walking, it won't be fun. There'll be no challenge. There will be no contrast. You wouldn't be able to remember the times you couldn't walk and be thankful for the fact that you could walk now. So stop bitching at the fact that you behind. Gee, the glory days are fun to talk about. I love talking about when I was broke. I'm not ashamed of it. You know how much of a G it makes me sound like that the fact I tell you I've been homeless 3 times and I'm doing better than most men that were ahead of me before I was homeless the first time, and it's true? You feel me, G? You know how much of an attractive story that is to a woman? G, you need stripes. You need scars, G. You can't walk around this bitch all peachy cream telling people you made it through a bunch of shit and they believe you. It's like I can't see the proof. All right, so you need capacity to be able to hold the weight. Because guess what? More money, more problems. That's what you don't understand. And once you get a chick who's a 9 or a 10, they don't shut up. And they don't stop asking for shit. So let me tell you a story about capacity. So when I was younger, as a kid, I had a conversation with God, the Most High. Meaning I had a conversation with myself. All right, fellas? I was talking to myself, and I said what I wanted to be. And at a very young age, I always kind of knew what I wanted to be. You know, some of us at a young age, we dream of being police officers, or Superman, or whoever the fuck. I don't know who you say you want to be as a kid, G. But for me, I knew what I wanted to be. And it wasn't until recently, about a few years ago, I realized that the majority of my life, I was being prepped for what I wanted to be. Now, I didn't know at the time because why? It all came in the form of what? Problems. All right? Some of them came in the form of tests. Some of them came in the form of opportunities. Some in the form of challenges. Gee, it was a bunch of shit happened. All right? But it all accumulated to where I am now. Now, when I get into a debate with someone, I demolish them. Now, when I have conversations, people are amazed and intrigued and impressed. Why? Because I've developed a skill over time that I didn't even know I was developing. And that is communication. I didn't know through all of the shit I've been through, the lost jobs, the missed opportunities, the gain opportunities, the skills I had to develop, all of the negotiations, all of the debates, all of the speaking engagements, all of the mentorships, all of the coaching, it all accumulated to me being able to hold the weight and the capacity of being able to help thousands of men, one day millions. You see what I'm saying, G? Capacity. You need capacity. So don't complain when God marks you after you ask, G. You ask for this shit. You know how they say be careful what you ask for? You ask for this. So take this ass whooping. Last thing I want to talk about, and something I mentioned earlier, fellas. All right, and if you made it this far, you know I saved the game for the end. All right, let me give you some strategy. All right, this world, this new world we live in, is hustle culture, right? Everybody want to get it now. We live in an instant culture, a validation culture, clout culture, microwave shit. All right, fellas, everybody want it now. From DoorDash to Netflix, you get it right now. You ain't got to go to the movies no more. You ain't got to go to the store to get food no more. You ain't even got to approach a woman no more. Why? Because everything's instant. But when you get marked, there's a strategy behind this. I mentioned this when I talked about men burn out. When they start off fast. Just like the tortoise and the hare. See, what you don't understand, not only was the tortoise moving slow in that story, but he was gaining knowledge. He was gaining wisdom. He was learning a lot of shit on that slow walk. One thing he learned is that ego usually destroys. How did he learn this? By just watching the damn rabbit. Self-destruct. All right, fellas? Another thing he learned is that discipline always wins. And another thing he learned is when you trust God's timing, you get the last laugh. So look, a lot of the reason why a lot of you guys don't even understand this after I done eloquently explained this shit is because of your ego. All right? Your ego says, I'm not supposed to go through this shit. Your ego says, even though every successful man I know has been through rock bottom and has been through the lonely stage and the breaking stage and every other fucked up stage you can imaginably go through as a man, and they finally made it the fuck out and became successful, your ego says that you're special. And you're different. And you're gonna get lucky. If you can find me more than 2 massively successful men or 2 men that lived the lives that you want, that got lucky, that didn't have to go through shit, that wasn't broke a bunch of times, that wasn't homeless a few times, that didn't lose a few wives or a few girlfriends, that didn't question themselves. Gee, the most righteous man in the Bible for all you Christians is a man named Job. And Job was so righteous that Satan and God had a whole conversation about this man trying to figure out how to break him. And they did break him down, but they didn't break him. All right, fellas, you should go read this shit for all you guys who haven't opened up your fucking Bible since Sunday school when you were 6. All right, it's a very unique story because most of you men are living the same story. Everything around you is crumbling down and you don't know what the fuck is going on. And you done got to the point where you're not only questioning yourself, but you question the Most High too. I wouldn't recommend you doing that. What I would recommend is you paying the fuck attention to what I'm saying and take notes and understand that divine men always win in the end. All right? I'm saying this to you, bro. You should trust your brother KD. So if any of you guys are going through this shit right now and you need help, all right, you need a guide. You need a shoulder to put your hand on in the darkness that can guide you to the light. I put a link in the description and pin in the comments for you to book a one-on-one elevation session with me. and I can help you through this stage in your life. All right, because like I said, it's a bumpy stage. All right, and without a guide, you may lose yourself. Go ahead and hit that link in the description and pinned in the comments. And we're going to get to the bottom of this and take you to the next level. All right, fellas? So I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. It's your boy, KD. We out here, baby.